Welcome. These will be my thoughts on Runaways Season 1, Episode 10, Hostile. The episode is rated TV-14, so in this video there will be spoilers for the entire first season, and potentially everything MCU and adjacent that had come out by the time this episode first premiered. And I guess we're at roughly the same closeness to me being able to say that I love even one episode of the show so far that we were from episode 9. I think I'm going to start with a couple of things that keep me from being able to say I love this episode. Not only was the couple of things Alex says about, we're in a bad neighborhood now. Not only was it unnecessary, especially for it to be so, nasty towards people who are suffering, but it also just goes on, there was the fight of the meth, and then the, alcoholic Elmo, and, just holy crap. Someone working through some stuff there, yeah, American media really, American culture in general, not just, yeah, really has to develop more empathy for people going through extreme poverty. Yeah. And it's such, I get that we're doing a thing of, oh, they're, way outside. They were very sheltered before, and now they're outside of that. You can do that without, kicking down, though. Just, yeah. I think that might... they even have the guy who almost became the Victor, Robert victim in an earlier episode pop up there at the end, and we're again not really encouraged to empathize with him. We're supposed to think, oh, he could be dangerous, which, I get that they're now, America's Most Wanted, but you could have accomplished that by having someone, not, visibly, yeah, really poor. It's just, yeah. I get that they're in that kind of neighborhood, but it could have been someone working there. Um, let's see. The fact that at least now I know what to call her. Gert keeps using she/her pronouns for old lace, so I will too. Respect people's pronouns because it's not actually super difficult to do. And John is kind of bare minimum. Yeah, moving on. Yeah, the fact that she didn't get any kind, she just immediately got, what's the word? The tranked, that I don't know. I mean, at least she, yeah. There's a couple of good things about. Let's see. I think that might be what I have of negative stuff. Honestly, I don't love that overall this was kind of uneventful of a season finale. This almost, if I didn't know that this was the season 1 finale, I would have thought it was the penultimate episode. Especially because the episode before this one really seemed to suggest, oh, something big's going to happen with the hole, and then, they discover there's something living down there, and they think they can develop a way to kill it, but that's basically it. And Darius just helps Alex with, money and guns. That was also kind of underwhelming. It is good that it sets up stuff for the next season, but it should also have at least a little bit more actually happen. So basically, at the start of the episode, Carolina stays behind, and later in the episode, they get Carolina back. That's basically it. Like almost nothing actually happened in this episode. At least they are getting, we're getting to a point where, most of Pride, I guess the fall is coming. They are going against Jonah. Though it seems like the Wilders are gonna be separate from the rest of X Pride. But it's not nothing, but like hypothetically, you could have fit it into the episode before this one and been fine. Yeah, I think I will, a little bit more general, and then I'll get into scene by scene. So I do think that we get just enough answers to mysteries over the course of this entire season, and I appreciate that they saved for this episode. Yes, Jonah killed Amy to protect Pride. He didn't know whether or not she had seen the sacrifice videos, and the let's see, I guess that might actually be the only answer we get in this episode specifically. But yeah, over the course of the season, overall, I think they handled the mystery aspect well. I am ready to come to terms with the fact that this show might never become, more of a super-powered action show. It's not going to become The Gifted, it seems like, or like some of Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. that had aired by the time this came out. And I appreciate that there wasn't superpowers in the main cast from right away, but by the time this episode first premiered, there had been some. Yeah, I think that might just about, and it's also not, it's not as trippy as Legion. It's not as like tense and suspenseful as Agent Carter. Yeah. Anyway, yes, I think that does bring us to the let's see. Where does that get us to? That gets us to the Yeah, I think that covers all of the overarching. Yeah, so let's see. Yeah, we open on, right. I did also, I think I neglected to mention it, but I did like in, yeah, the episode before this one, did you know about this? No, but it's what I feared. That was a cool way to end the episode. Yeah. Oh, right. And I also liked, I think it was episode 8, where it's acknowledged through Gert and her crush on Chase. Sometimes, it's women who struggle to, they struggle to be able to date the person that they want to. A lot of people forget when, like, incel, like, before it became co-opted by cishet men, many of them white, and turned toxic. What a surprise. It was started by, was it a woman or multiple women? I forget. And after a while, women were not welcome because male incels insist that female incels do not exist. Yeah. So appreciate that was they didn't say the word incel, but they were making it very clear that was what was going on. Yes, the so yeah, the episode opens, and you know I wouldn't have minded the way the action was handled if they hadn't seemed to set it up so much in the episode before. Like, genuinely, just if it's not what you're going for, just don't do, don't, yeah, don't lead us into believing that that's what you're going to do. That's really all. Yeah, I think so yeah, the action very, very quickly, basically, Molly tries to throw Beryl, um, and was it? I think it might have been Jonah who was like not so fast Donkey Kong, but maybe it was not Amy, Tina. But the but yeah, yeah, because Chase shoots and Tina just blocks it, and already mentioned the dinosaur. Yeah, we have Carolina stays behind, and I did like, it was very cool, very comic booky though, that one shot where you see both of them fire and how it meets in the middle, and it was pretty cool that there was like this, yeah, EMP afterwards, um, and that's basically it. I mean, I will say it does feel, I appreciate the character moments that Carolina insists on staying behind. Nico's the last to leave and really struggles to, and the first to suggest going back and looking. Um, that felt very true to their characters and their newfound relationship status change. And although with the EMP, they're not going to be able to update Facebook. Yeah, I think the I did like Nico saying, "Would you all stop saying everything's fried?" That was genuinely. I don't know if somebody felt like, well, we have to establish, like, we didn't really need the thing with it. Well, okay, I guess technically maybe there was a discussion between two writers and they ended up compromising, because I guess we sort of do need, because we need to explain why doesn't Chase wield the fistigons after that um, blast. Why don't they drive away instead of run away, although that's their name? And why what was Alex had like laptop maybe, or tablet or smartphone or something, because later they explained that he left to um yeah, get the map and stuff. The well, come to think of it, I'm not entirely sure what he did leave for. But he, whatever. That's another thing. The Fistigons, like, we have all this build up, and then like that's it. Like, they didn't really accomplish much of anything. Um, I mean, there was the part where they were able to get away from Darius, but that's really all. It's why Victor was able to hurt Chase enough that Janet shot him. So I guess that's not nothing, but it's not exactly what I was hoping for. Yeah. The let's see. Yeah, so they leave, and we see they put a they got a gurney and a blanket to transport old lace, which I guess they had to do something. Another thing that I didn't love was so they see a cop car, and Alex is like, we're not doing anything wrong, so just don't react to it. I agree that it's important for them to not like act out of the ordinary, but should that maybe have been that they're already hiding and there's a cop car and Alex is like, shh, make sure they don't hear us, because there could already be an APB out for them. Like that felt, yeah, still some awkward and contrived writing. The best thing about the show remains the character stuff. They are still, you know, I do want to see what happens next. Even if I hadn't already bought all 3 seasons, I would be invested to see, but I'm not as excited as for a lot of these MCU adjacent shows. Now let's see. I think that pretty much gets us to the part. Let's see. We what was next? I guess that's when they let's go with the so yeah, there's at least a part where they, get disguises. That was another thing. I didn't love this thing of like Brentwood's finest, dressed in what other people throw, the crap other people throw away. Like, I'm going to come right out and say it. You are getting dangerously close to like Inhumans level, that miniseries level of having characters that we're clearly supposed to sympathize with be just like incredibly classist and just, yeah. I really hope that they do a better job on that in the next season. Like, it's fine to like, because the thing is, you can acknowledge it. You can just say, have a character say, I didn't even used to think about the people who lived here, and now I feel like maybe I could have done more to help them. I have so much more than they do. Something like that. Okay, that's slightly obnoxious in a savior kind of way, but it's better. Um, I'm on Molly's side. Incognito, not invisible. She really does always manage to find a way to really express, her personality and not just like hide and she can be a fairly shy person sometimes, but her clothes, at least at times, perhaps not all of the time, but she communicates something. She's not trying to just blend in, and I quite appreciate that. Yeah, the oh, right. I think, was it incognito? It's not incognito, but it is undercover. It's something along those lines. And yeah, the thing about, still dyed hair, just green instead of purple. Right, and apparently the stuff they wear near the end of the episode is right out of their comic book counterparts, which I can believe. I can absolutely believe that the more like distinct clothes that they're now wearing in order to, you know, not attract, not look like themselves is the, yeah. I think that might That kind of is, I've seen that in a couple of these comic book adaptations. Someone will have to be changing clothes, and, well, there wasn't anything more, yeah. Among other things, the especially stretchy purple pants in The Incredible Hulk. Now, although, did he end up turning those down? Maybe. I forget. It's been a little while since I watched. I'm not one of the people who thinks that movie's like terrible or something. I do think it's good to great, but it's just been a while. Whatever. Moving on. I think, does that pretty much get us to the part where, let's see, that I know there's something, but where, what else is uh okay, let's see. There's the um let's go with the part where, so yeah, the two hippie parents go, they brought the sonar, and they're gonna check the hole, and they're like, I can't believe we wasted all that time hating Tina when we should have been hating Leslie, who then steps into frame. I heard that, Yorkses. And the let's see, yeah, I mean, you have to work really, really hard to get me to not like, I'm afraid I still forget his name, and my wrists are too sore to check right now, but Marshall Flinkman from Alias, when he's just like being adorkable and trying to hide something, or the, like, we're checking the hole. What's up with you? What are you doing here? And I guess that pretty much, um, was that when yeah, I think that might be around, so yeah, the disguise scene, Nico and Chase talk, and there's the thing about, yeah, both of them say, well, you reeked of hookup, and let's see, yeah, and he tells her, I'm not going to tell Wilder, because it's not his. It's, again, consistent. Sometimes he can be a real jerk, but if it's not his secret to share, he's not going to do it. He will let them, you know, you deal with it on their own terms. It's the same thing about Gert and Old Lace. Now yeah, so they talk about, and it's like, so it's complicated because she likes new. No, because I like her. And yeah, he's used to the girl liking him, but he's not usually on the other side of it, and now he thinks that she's the one who doesn't like. And later in the episode, Nico, matchmaker Minoru, is like, well, that's not what Chase said to Gert. So that was very nice. I do hope that they're not going to drag it out forever to have a will they, won't they. Yes, sometimes those start with the couple hooking up or the like. Yeah, I think that might, let's see. So I like that she names the dinosaur after an old movie. And right, the thing about, I have anxiety. Don't they have medication for that? Yep, got a big bottle of it at home. That's the thing. She didn't realize when going out on mission that she would need to stock up. And besides which, she was running low on inventory space. And then she says, besides, it's my first day without my emotional support dinosaur. Was this around the same time that there was like a joke? I don't think I'm not sure if it appeared in one of the Jurassic World movies. Haven't watched those. Not sure I ever will. Obviously, the original Jurassic Park is great. I'm not super invested in watching any of the follow-ups, but I know that they did like a skit or something where it's not a spoiler. I guess I'll just say a specific character said, no, this is my emotional support dinosaur. In like maybe it was like an ad for air travel or something, but yeah. I forget if that was, so this episode aired January 9th, 2018. Because at least one of those movies had come out by then, I'm pretty sure. Um, Moving on. So what do you know? We have an episode where I was not annoyed by the depiction of Gert's left-wing policies, which, again, in case you're new to my channel, I am far left myself, so I agree with the things, but just, yeah. Unfortunately, it's also kind of because they don't really bring them up much at all. I mean, there's the line about, we'll live in a commune. I thought you'd be into that. So yeah, I guess, are they still doing the thing about like, oh, she's a hypocrite? Yeah, I'm not entirely sure. It might be because that's when they talk about like, oh, she has anxiety. That's part of why she's, um, yeah. I think that might, because certainly if they're just acknowledging, it's like one can want to, for example, be comfortable living in a commune. Actually getting there is not always, that can take a little bit more, you know, it's not for everyone. I am not sure I would, I personally would struggle with it. I'm fairly confident about that. But even though I absolutely 100% support, I think ideally, that is how we, it's the solution to, a number of problems. Now, honestly, I think instead of me butchering his points, I will direct you to Andrewism right here on YouTube. Now, and while you're at it, check out his solar punk videos. Now, I think that might just about bring us to the, yeah, so by now it does seem like, I mean, I guess Frank still believes in Jonah. It's not that he, is like knowingly being evil, but, the end result is the same. And, yeah, he is still, yeah, as, we feared. I was hoping that he had some plan, but, when we saw that he was with Jonah at the end of the episode before this one, but nope. Not a plan against Jonah, anyway. And yeah, you know, um, Leslie points out betrayal, and then he says, I guess you're an expert. So there may be postponing or not doing a redemption for him, because, like, he's really being a jerk recently. Now, I think that might cover. I did think it worked to have her in the with the face filter, face hugger looking thing, because like similar issue, they have this light inside that gives them power, but every so often they need to recharge like that. So That makes sense. And she wasn't so badly injured that she needed a sacrifice. And I guess that does, let's see. Yeah, I thought it worked. The thing about, I think it's Alex who says they have to leave. There was the thing about, okay, there's only one thing to do. And he says, get out of town. And then, Nico is like, save Carolina. And then he's like, get out of town. And yeah, they have a vote. And I like that, after everyone, and then they just turn to look at Alex and they're like, fine, because that's, yeah. Peer pressure for the win. Rare W for peer pressure. Usually it's something terrible that someone ends up doing. And yeah, I liked Chase saying, I'm just saying, if it was me in Carolina's place, I would want you to leave me. And right now I forget, was it Nico maybe who responded, well, Chase, if it were you, we would. You walked right into that one. And let's see, does that get us to, I guess I'll briefly talk. So, right, they go to the coffee place, and yeah. So Churchy McChurcherson, it goes like, my name's Vaughn, not Yawn. Who would name their kid Yawn? And then, Nico grabs the coffee and walks off, and he's like, hey, mistake. I like that he thinks it's a mistake. He doesn't realize that, no, that was on purpose. He's still very innocent. And, yeah, he goes up, he follows, and, they're all there. He points out the bat wig, and, he's like, what is this? And they start, well, we're here because we love you. Yawn, your parents named you that for a reason. And you have to stop running from that. And yeah, they point out like the yeah, issues with the church, including and not limited to the fact that they absolutely failed that social experiment. If you haven't already watched the let's see, I want to say it's on the Antibots channel. It features both her and Genetically Modified Skeptic. Let's see, there was something like American Christians are cruel on purpose or something like that. One among numerous really excellent videos on it. I forget if I've already highlighted, but We Gonna Be Alright also did a really solid video on it. Anyway, but yeah, he does at first turn them down, and so they have to sneak in, and I guess it might not be the most I mean, they're not that disguised. I guess it's just the fact that they're standing there, and the two of them see them standing there, and I don't know, I guess maybe they've never been to the church. Even though Chase likes Carolina, I guess that's a bridge he's not willing to burn or something. But anyway, yeah, they get they go into the van and start filling out paperwork, and then hand on shoulder, and it's like, oh crap, and I like the thing about talking about do they have family, she sort of doesn't, and he's like, maybe I don't either. And then we have it's like, did you change your mind? You're working with, come with me. Did you change your mind? You're working with us, or are you turning us in? It means start following me and stop talking, which is a very nice way to get, so like we are also sitting there thinking like, well, I hope he's helping, but they don't really have a choice. It's one of those things like, hypothetically, if they follow, maybe he's willing to help. If he's like just turning them in, doesn't matter that much whether they follow him or not. Like if he's just gonna like, there is some chance that if he were just to turn them in, he wouldn't put his hand on their shoulder. He would just have someone, he doesn't know about her super strength, I don't think so, unless somebody else told him, but yeah, if they follow him, there is a chance that is. And if he doesn't know about the super strength, maybe they can fight their way out, sort of thing. So, and they can also just keep an eye out. And it's one of those things, like, I get why he doesn't feel like there's time to explain. And he does, he runs into the the two, so he was right that they had to leave immediately, and he claims, Jonah's going to be very interested in them. And yeah, they think, oh, Ultra. And I think that does. Let's go with so Carolina wakes up and Jonah tells her, Frank never told you the truth about your father. I am your father. And she's like, that's not true. That's impossible. And I appreciate she needed a glass of water after that. That is very understandable. And yeah, they what was the other thing? Then they yeah, that is indeed where she gets her power from. And yeah, there's the part where he greets the Wilders, and then he says, this isn't Compton. Oh. I hope that what they're doing there is making clear, like, yeah, Jonah's that bad of a guy. He's also racist, but the show has engaged in some racism in earlier episodes, so I'm a little worried that it's more of the show being racist and maybe like lampshading, so that's. And it also just felt awkward the way that I do appreciate them continuing to push to see their kids again, their kid again. The other prides are looking for ways to stop Jonah, and yeah. I didn't think it was terrible when he like basically has security on both sides of them. It did feel very awkward that then when he starts to walk away, I think it's Catherine who takes a step, and then the security step in front of. It's like, you were really still going to try to follow him further? Like, you could have just had like a determined look on her face, and then she, yeah, maybe she like just mutters to herself, we can't get past these guys or something like that. But yeah, I think that does bring us to, yeah, so he manages to, Jan does get them to the the door with that Carolina's behind. And then you have the thing about like, I don't know the code. That's okay, we brought a code breaker, and she just like rips open the yeah, and he's like, I brought a monster. Oh, you brought the monster. And yeah, they get her out of there. And the let's see. Oh, I also liked so Jonah's leaving Carolina's or I guess his place that Carolina's similarly staying at, and he puts on Chase uses the X-ray goggles and sees he's made of matrix code. I mean, light. And yeah, so Carolina points out, we have to make it seem like I'm giving you a tour. in my pajamas. And yeah, the I guess Yawn is more convincing than the other. I guess they knew that she was supposed to be staying. That must be it. Because they immediately call BS on her story, and then like, we gotta go, run, run, run. And Molly's like, can I run and nap at the same time? Because we established early in the show that that's absolutely necessary for me, and we reaffirmed it earlier in this very episode after I tried throwing a barrel. But I guess now it's not an issue. Okay. See, I'm just saying, occasional, inconsistencies like that hurt the overall experience of the show. Anyway, that brings us to the other part. And the other part is what does happen next. I like that the X Prides, they brought in Janet, and let's see, yeah, and she, there's the thing about like maybe Victor would die, but nah, that Jonah needs Victor. He's, you know, and I did think it really worked when, so, yeah, the the part where Leslie says she's 100% anti-Jonah now, and she says, I've done terrible things, and let's see, I think it was the um, huh, yeah, now I actually don't remember who exactly had said, but there was a thing about like, yeah, you killed Molly's parents. We heard. And she's like, no, that was actually a fringe benefit. But no, I've done even worse. And then she looks at Tina, and like Tina and we, the audience, realize at the same time, Amy, no, and also the point that I didn't know that Molly would be there. I thought that you know her parents would be alone, and we still don't know if I mean, obviously the rock there had something to do with but was it that the rock gave her the but just before the explosion, she got the power, and now she's just indestructible, like full on, like not just really strong. And I appreciate technically super durability kind of has to go with super strength, otherwise you wouldn't be able to use the super strength. But there are stories where they don't go together, even though that doesn't make a lot of sense, But the let's see. Yeah, that's one option. The other option is that the rock absorbed the blast, and then the blast got put into Molly's body and became her super strength. But yeah, not a question we needed answered by the end. We saw the first, like, clearly that's where it happened. We just don't know every detail about it. It was super cool when everyone gets into the van, including the camera. Like, they must have had it on, like, I guess by 2018 you could have fairly small cameras that could film at very high quality. So that might be what is this pure handheld, tiny little, not tiny, but not very big camera. But the fact that the cameraman jumps into the car and then spins around and films from inside, that was a really cool way to film that. Honestly, if they just do stuff like that for action, that would be enough. I just hope that they also stop having the, lead-ins suggest more. Now, I think that does bring us to the... Yeah, so right, and we also at one point in the episode see, Jonah see the phone, and see the message. So why didn't he bring Amy's phone with that? If he saw that again, because we didn't really need to see him see it. It's enough that Leslie says that she sent the text to Amy because she knew that Jonah might, or yeah, would kill her. So yeah, I mean, I guess the idea is that Jonah saw that text and then just put the phone back in the bag or something like that. Yeah. Anyway, I think it was in the bag when Nico found it. I mean, I guess at most you could say, well, he didn't want, the like he was making sure Amy's death looked like a suicide, so he didn't want to leave too big of a trace. Well, you can erase the contents of a phone. Oh, is that another thing the writers aren't aware of? Like how there's a couple of things they don't know about technology, so it's possible that's it. But again, just like it's such an easy fix, just don't have him find the phone. I could accept it if he just didn't look for it, but the fact that he found it and then just put it back without deleting that extremely telling text is just... But yeah, I think that does... let's see. I thought it worked when Alex, talked to Nico about like, I guess we can't go back to our parents. Would you call your parents like just to say whatever? You'd call them just to say the word whatever. Whatever. But yeah, she says there's nothing left to say. And not long after, he's missing, and we see him dial a number. And yeah, I was with Nico. I was like, that little shit called his parents. But he called Darius instead. And we have the thing about, the enemy of my enemy is my friend, not my enemy. And yeah, the thing, well, then I guess we're best friends, huh? And the, yeah, we see not long after he got a gun from, yeah, I think that might... It was genuinely... I do... One thing I absolutely appreciate about Old Lace is that they made me care about a frickin' dinosaur that isn't even that convincing of a CG effect. Although, again, it works when it's animatronic and close-up, but like when Gert is like, no, 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 but he doesn't chase squirrels and he poops in trees. Go on, get. I don't like you anymore. Just like genuinely really nicely done on that. Like her wondering if she could, if Old Lace could get botulism, and yeah, the fact that she's been following, she really does keep disobeying orders, doesn't she? Stay in the car, don't follow me. Maybe they are building towards... I think they could do something compelling with Old Lace. They hint at, I mean, there's the thing about, well, I have to feed, you had to go to Whole Foods. So that's a, let's see, I guess that is that a... I know that is like, for many people, that's expression of progressive values, but it might just be that she's used to, like their they usually have enough money for that sort of thing, so it might be more of a class thing, but I'm not entirely sure. But she points out, I don't know what happened to old Lace if she didn't get enough to eat. That could be a thing. Like now, by the end of the episode, they are, fleeing. So maybe at some point they won't be able to feed old Lace enough, and old Lace, maybe they have to, do something unusual to like temporarily knock it down, then get it something to eat, and then that could be something. So far they still just haven't really done anything. Like, I'm sorry, we would lose a lot of stuff that I like, but overall old Lace has not changed anything plot wise. She hasn't done one thing that actually, I actually thought that they were going to have, when Marshall Flinkman, lifts the trank dart gun, I thought that they were going to have, maybe he accidentally, misses or something. And yeah, maybe old Lace jumps, ahead of, you could have a line about like he's about to shoot and someone else says, what are you doing? That's horse tranquilizer. It would like, it could really hurt if you hit one of the kids, and then he fires, we know he's not the best with guns on this show. So, maybe he fires a little too, that's another thing. Like, wait, so he doesn't think to not literally drop a loaded handgun, but he's a crack shot with this trank gun. Like, he can, yeah. Anyway, but yeah, you could have a thing about it realizing and jumping in front, and you could have like a line about like, oh, it was more concerned about their safety than Dale was, or something like that. But yeah, I think that might bring us to the I does that. What else is left? I feel like there's at least one really important thing that I want to make sure to let's see. Right, it also felt a little weird. So okay, there's noises from a dumpster, and goes up to it, and then she sees old Lace in there, and for a second she's like shocked. She's like, why did you go up to a noisy dumpster if you didn't think that was old Lace in there? That was a very weird. I don't know if that was the director or one of the, if it was in the script or what, but that felt like, and again, like, there's such an easy fix. Just like have her go up to it and like just say out loud, old Lace, and then she opens and checks and it's like, old Lace, something like that. But just, yeah, moving on. I think that pretty much covers everything. It was perhaps ever so slightly corny that I think it is the last shot of the episode, and thus the season, literally is the Runaways becoming Runaways. Do appreciate that that old Lace was part of that, though. And that also, wow, they're framing the Runaways for the murder of Destiny. Wow. Just, and I guess, right, I like the thing about like Jonah telling Carolina, when I'm around you, I feel less alone. Maybe I can do that for you too. That was a great, because that is the thing. Like, he's been around for some time now without aging, and yeah, he is alone in a lot of ways, a lot of the time. some of it is self-inflicted, like being this dictator of Gibborim, but some of it is, I guess we don't know yet if he chose to be the one. I was joking when I made a Matrix reference. Sheesh. But yeah, he there's a lot of people that he can only relate so much to, and I do think they did a good job on at the very start of the show. I was like, oh wow, Pride are terrible. The the parents here, not LGBT plus Pride. And over the course of this season, they have effectively managed to start a redemption arc for Pride. Really, Jonah's the only one left, and I guess is Frank Pride now, maybe Neo Pride. And Jonah is the big bad. That does, like I will say, based on the way the episode before this one ended, I thought this episode would end with the whole and him being dealt with, but I love Julian McMahon, so it's I am looking forward to seeing more. But yeah, they did a good job on, it's that thing of like, it's a comic book trope. If you want to show how tough someone new is, have them wipe the floor with the previous toughest, So I think that might just about, let's see, there's at least something left. I thought it worked well. There's a panning shot of most of the Runaways sleeping in a car. That's a good image. That doesn't feel like it's kicking down. It's not like saying, "Ugh, can you believe they're forced to live like this?" No, people of good breeding shouldn't have to. No, it's just like, well, this is how things are for them now. And let's see, I guess I feel like there's at least one more thing. Let's see. Have I already said I didn't feel like enough happened and changed in this episode, and this episode could have been combined with the one before it? Again, I think there might be like, oh wait, have I mentioned that for this show? I mentioned it for other shows. For some of these shows, it feels like, and some of them I know, that there's they're told to deliver a specific number of episodes. Yeah, I think that might. Where does that leave us? The thing is, it's gonna be a little while before I do another video on this show, so I want to make absolutely sure I say everything that I haven't already said about not just this episode, but this entire season in this video. But I think that does cover it. Right, yes, now I remember. Yeah, so Alex hiding outside of Gibborim and overhearing his parents, and that's also why it seems like he's going, when, later he's going to call them, because he thinks that they're, maybe they're open to helping, or he just wants to hear their voice or something, but he didn't hear them say, we have to, we can't trust Jonah anymore. We have to find Alex, and think, well, I want to be found by them then. He might have heard that and been like, well, I guess we have our work cut out for us to avoid being caught. And I'm not entirely sure if he was lying when he told Darius, about or I guess, was he talking about Jonah or Jeffrey when he said enemy of my enemy, but yeah. That was a really good misdirect because like technically they didn't cheat. It's not like the like if he had said I have to talk to my parents, but he didn't. He asked Nico, would you talk to your parents? That's not the same thing as him saying that he intends to. I like basically the way I understand it now, knowing that instead he called Darius, like there's a chance he was considering it, but it's also possible that he wasn't thinking, should I call my parents? He's checking if Nico is planning to, and if he maybe has to talk her out of it or something, so that's a good, yeah, because like if he has his mind set on he's definitely not going to call his parents, maybe he needs to know that the others aren't going to, and it's possible he's asked the others, or maybe he just feels more confident that they're definitely not going to, so yeah. And certainly, some of the time recently, Alex and Nico have not been on the same page, so he's making sure about that. So yeah, I think that might cover. Let's see. Yeah. So when he talks to Nico about the who did you call? Doesn't matter. I got what I need. I have a friend, but he doesn't show the gun, which also makes me you know anxious and curious as to who he's planning on using it on. If he thinks that Nico might talk him out of it or something, because like if he says I got a gun, and then says the next time we meet Jonah, I think she's gonna be like, hell yeah, but we know that he is not the best at keeping things, and right now he's keeping another secret from her, so yeah. And he doesn't even know yet that she's into Carolina. That was also yeah. So Carolina changing like that, and Nico standing there waiting. It's a little bit like she could just like walk away and stand off to the side, and then Carolina could walk around the corner as soon as she's done changing. It feels a little bit, but I don't know. I mean, I know there's a bunch. It's a show for teenagers, and that's great. Some of those do have, teenagers will be like looking at each other in a, yeah. Um, and I mean, if I'm not like a body language expert, but it did look like as soon as Carolina realized, oh, it's Nico, she wasn't uncomfortable anymore. She heard a voice and was like, oh, wait, who's this? But, and this time Nico is the one who initiates the kiss. And I'm just going to say it. You're going to have to put up with me being a softie for a little bit of this video. I think they're so cute together. It's really, really great. And I guess leave it to women to be able to communicate openly about the relationship. Once it's like heterosexual and there's a man involved, stuff gets more, yeah, um, will they, won't they kind of thing. But the yeah, and both of them saying really sweet things to each other was great. Now I think that does cover everything. So yeah, looking forward to next season. But next show is going to be Arrow season 2. Then we're doing Fear the Walking Dead season 1, and then we're back to Marvel adjacent, but right now I'm planning on the next one of those being, I want to say MODOK is the next one. Then it's, more Runaways, then one season of Hitmonkey, then the last season of Runaways, or season 2 of Hitmonkey. There's some chance that there'll be a third season of Hitmonkey by the time I actually get around to season 2. So yeah, we'll get back to the show, but not immediately, Right, and I do also, I think it is potentially interesting that, so they are, there's, like, their faces are on, on the tube. One of them saw it and was like, I was on TV. And yeah, Mahone is going to be hunting for them, and at the same, so that's, a problem for them. But then at the same time, Alex has this massive wad of cash, because it was said earlier in the episode they're too smart to use their phones or credit cards. So yeah, there's a potential there that one of those two things can obviously be a detriment and the other can be a boon. But there are, yeah, I mean, I can't rule out, maybe, is there a chance they could end up working with a criminal or something, since they're also wanted? Like, maybe it could give them street cred, and money. Like, it also means they could lose all of that money. So yeah, there's definitely something they can work with there in a compelling way. And I'm just gonna call it right now. I haven't watched any episode past this one of the show yet as I record this. If the one of the following episodes has them spending an obscene amount of that on avocado toast, that will immediately let me know that there's at least one boomer writing the show.